So we're excited. We're excited to get this presentation going. Thank you all for attending. And so this presentation it flows from a story that was published in the September 21st issue of the Waterways Journal. Hopefully some of you got it, but it's this story right here. It's a story that was inspirational to us. Inspirational not just due to the size and scope of the project, but also all the collaboration that was involved. There was lots of moving parts to this project. It's an ongoing project, and what it pertains to a repowering program being conducted by Campbell Transportation on four vessels. It happens to be at Enterprise Marine Shipyard, and there was many players involved. One of which the Port of Pittsburgh had applied for a grant from the Department of Transportation and was able to help fund 50% of the propulsion equipment needed for the repower. I'm very happy that we have Tim Callahan, president of Callahan Marine Surveyors here. He was very integral to this project. Mike Pilgrim, director of vessel maintenance for Campbell, will be on shortly.
I'm on, guys.
Oh, and Mike, great. So, and very happy to announce that Mike Pilgrim is with us as well. So, Mike, why don't you kick us off? How did this all get started? Let's go through the timeline of this project.
I guess it started about a little over a year ago. We had an opportunity. We had some boats coming up for overhaul. We looked at our options. Campbell had used the Port of Pittsburgh's grant program in the past. We ran some models to see if it would fit these boats and what we were wanting to do with them, and they did. So we kind of went down the road of looking at repowering versus rebuilding BMDs. So like I said, we modeled it, made sure it made sense to go down the road. Probably had about 2.5, 3 months of pretty intense work in it through the shear group, working with different shipyards and stuff, preparing work scopes before we send it out on for bid. But that's kind of how it kicked off. I mean, we had a need in our fleet, and we fulfilled it, by working as a partnership with with the Port of Pittsburgh and obviously Electra Shipyard, Enterprise Marines Shipyard there out of Morgan City. I mean, that's kind of how it kicked off. I mean, from there, we could talk for days, guys. But
that's great, Mike. And so tell us about these boats. What were you dealing with when you had these boats that were planned for the repower?
I'm sorry, you broke up there on that last part. Could you say that again?
Sure. Tell us about these four boats in particular. What were they like before you started the project?
Well, I mean, they were built when they were originally built. They were built for a specific run up the Canal River with roughly 9 barges. When we acquired them several years ago, I think 3 to 4 years ago, we started running the Ohio, dropping down as low as Cairo with them. In pool water, we'd push 15, but as as the water levels got up and navigation, had a little strain put on it, we had to drop the tow size down a little to compensate for it. But it was just kind of these 4 boats. Originally it was 5. We ended up selling one of them, but the opportunity came along. We took advantage of it. But the 4 boats were really just an opportunity where they pretty much were all coming in sequence of needing overhaul, complete overhauls, engines, gears, powertrain, nozzles, and that's kind of where, it all fit in together. Going through the Port of Pittsburgh for the grant program, and it's kind of how it all fell in there. We were able to utilize a little more horsepower out of it by going with the CAD engines. So 3512s are about half the size of the EMD. So we had a lot of modifications to accommodate that, but it's pretty much a work in progress once we got it in the yard.
Yeah, and so Mike, who are the major players involved in this project? Who are your partners?
Well, I mean, we purchased the engines from Cleveland Brothers, and they're a local distributor up here in Pittsburgh. Gears came from Twin Disc, right there out of home in Morgan City, Houston, obviously. But they were definitely big. Electric Shipyard, I mean, they provided us with all the services to do all the grunt work in the yard, as far as hot work, welding, and painting and fabrication. You had Callahan Marine Service for, they provided the project management oversight of shipyard work. Shear Group, they were instrumental. A lot of background with those boats over the years. So I mean, they had a lot of intimate information about them and a lot of history with them. So that was a great help. I mean, the list is pretty big, but I mean, EJ Fields, Machine Shop, Rio Marine, Inc. I mean, basically all departments with those guys, and that's it in a nutshell. I mean, with Rice Nozzles and Texas Wheel Works, I mean, that's pretty much the biggest contributor. So there's a lot of big players in there. I just named off some pretty significant aspects of the job right there.
Great. And then Mike, if it's all right, we have a 3D video on the screen right now. Tim, maybe you could talk about what we're seeing now and kind of navigate us around.
Yeah, if you one of the photos you had up, I think earlier, that was the before photos of the engine room or engine package that was before. And then what we done, this is how basically the boat finished out. As you can see, we did a lot of modifications from previous pictures and, previous the way the boat was set up. A lot fell into place fairly easy, and a lot was a lot of work and really having to, go after the team with support and get everybody involved to make it happen. The engines actually sat a lot further forward. We kept all the shaft projection lines are all the same, but the EMD engines with the accessory racks are a lot longer. So they was actually just in front of those engines quite a bit, most probably another 8 to 12 feet at least per side. So we pretty much gained a lot of space in the engine room by putting the smaller engines with the same or greater horsepower with a little bit more better fuel efficiency. So, but as you can kind of walk around, you can see the modifications, and along the way, Campbell and Mike and Donald Davey that represented Campbell that I worked very closely with. They really had to try to standardize these boats. They really had in mind to anything to prevent any kind of a fuel spillage issue or anything for environment friendly. They really had that in mind to work these boats and to make them safe, efficient for the teammates that's out there working these things every day. And Not saying something's not missed, but they really put their minds to it to make it happen. And they come out to be a very nice product, in my opinion. And what I was able to witness, we running a lot smoother. A lot of the vibrations is cut out of the boats. So a lot of things happen, new nozzles and stuff like that. But, also along the journey here, the teams that Mike mentioned that come out and help, the shipyard team and the foremans and the workers, did a really good job. They worked with us. They worked well with us. It was a great opportunity. It was teamwork. It was total collaboration, everybody together. One goal we achieved on these two vessels, the ones we have here, 0 incidents. We really come out good with them. As you can see, kind of looking around, we put some drip pans for the oil filters and canister. That was one you just passed by. We put a new sewage unit in. So a lot of things happened. During this process too, a lot of the obstacles we had that we couldn't control, which we all know, we have the COVID out there. We also had 2 storm cells that come through and delayed work. We had, some equipment issues as far as things happening, normal process that just takes time. Most probably a little bit with some engine beds that we was trying to cob in and work out, because nothing's ever as a drawing is. You have to really just tear it apart and then see what you got, as we all know. But it was a really good team effort, and really the boats come out really nice and really sound. So they should work for many years, maintenance free or heavy maintenance free, So.
Yeah, thanks, Tim. So we do have some questions here, questions that have come in. First of all, Tim, what were we just looking at? How did we come across? How did you get that 3D imagery?
Well, that's a company that myself and Lee Nelson, we own it. It's we actually have it's called Industries. We actually go out and film vessels. We use it for training aids, for onboard orientation. There's a lot more to it than what you see there. We actually do, we link things to it. We link the TISMIS plans to it, maintenance procedures. It's all linked in there. And that's something we do. That's a service we offer with a company that myself and Lee Nelson own. And we're just trying to get that out there for the mariners to help educate them, make it affordable, make it easy, because that's what it's all about, to help the teammates out there.
Yeah, not too many things are easy these days, and I wanted to get that out there. I thought that was pretty neat.
Thank you.
Neat way to see the engine room. Mike, can you tell us about the fuel tanks and what changes you made there?
Well, one of the things going into this, early on, we noticed one of the things, we noticed that from our perspective of how we use the boats over 3 years, that on average, when we fueled, we took on between 15 and 18,000 gallons. We really never ever exceeded that amount. The boats prior to coming into the shipyard had approximately 71 or 72,000 max, gallons capacity. So that's a lot of fuel that they were basically, using as a ballast system. So as we had to, part of the modifications for these engines, it required coolers. So we had to install cooler boxes and grid coolers. And so the tanks had to be cleaned and pressure washed out and, into a condition that you could do something with them, hot work and other things. But we kind of looked at it and did the math and had some engineering done on it to make sure that it would work. But we elected to just make those freshwater wash water tanks. I'd say threes and fours were the tanks that were mostly affected with it. Those are now freshwater / wash water tanks, and they stay full or relatively full with water. And we reduced the fuel capacity from approximately 72,000 gallons to 45,000. So, we can run past 18 if we want to. We could, we can run, we still run 25 to 30,000 gallons out of the boat if we want to or need to, but, and still, still have a good, setting in the water. I believe we did run, I'd have to confirm this, but I believe we ran 21,000. We took on 21,000, on one of the boats since she came out. So they did run her down really good. She still set good in the water, like we anticipated and hoped for. So we really minimized our footprint, instead of running around with, 40 extra thousand gallons of fuel that you really were just using for ballast. Now we're able to utilize that with something that the boat could use as needed, whether they're washing the outside of the boat, cleaning the inside of the engine rooms, or, for different purposes, but to serve a better goal in my mind that minimize that, possibility of, environmental incident or just from an aspect, if you've got 4 extra boats out there with 40,000 gallons of fuel that they're not using, that's, it's 160,000 gallons of fuel, that you're just riding around with all the time. So, there was different thought processes with it, but ultimately, we've got something that we could practically use that would serve the same concept of, keeping the boat down in the water where it rode better.
Yeah, great. I want to mention these boats. I don't think we've named them yet, but it's the motor vessels Roger W. Keeney, Jeffrey Rakey, James Moorhead, and the Norman L. Snodgrass. The Norman Snodgrass was renamed to the Tommy H. When it was purchased, right? And then what about the other boats? What are they? Have they been renamed yet? And what to what?
The Roger Keeney is now the Connie K. And, the Jeffrey Rake is now the MJ Monahan. So that's the TB for the forehead. The Tommy H will keep the same name, but the Moorhead hasn't been dubbed a new name yet, but it's in the making.
The Waterways Journal is available if you need a name. Kind of saying. Oh no, I think it's great. Probably everyone on this call knows who Mr. Monahan is, and it's all nice to see. So we had another question here. Did you make any changes to the rudder system?
Not to the rudders themselves. We did to the actual steering system. The vessels were hydraulic steering. We were able to go in and have electric over hydraulic. It complements the rest of the vessel with the upgrades that we did. New engines, nozzles, everything's real nice and tight. Electric throttles. Now everything is just at a fingertip. It's the boats handle and maneuver around really, really good. But a lot of that's to do with just the response time and all these things, from the throttles to the to your rudder system. As you articulate or move from port to starboard, or forward to reverse in your gears, with your throttle there, she's just very responsive and really just glides into tight spots real easy. I think that's probably one of the most, I made the other day that one of the most impressive things to me was the handling and maneuverability of these big boats compared to what they were when they came in. It's really, really operates outside of anything I would have expected from that aspect.
And what do the crews think? Is it a little bit less vibration?
Absolutely. So far, have gotten only great feedback, and from everyone that's been on it, and in the past prior to, and also, that's riding it now. I mean, they're very, very much not anywhere close to what they were coming in. I mean, Tim, I've mentioned it. We're 90+% less vibration, noise is down tremendous. You don't even hear the engines running when you're in other areas of the boat hardly. It's just really that was another. We exceeded. We knew we were going to be in a good area. I think we exceeded anything that we really anticipated, which is always a good thing. All the way down to the performance of the boats on the shove test and stuff. But yeah, we really gained a lot there as well.
Good. So another question: is it possible to quantify the emissions reductions? When you went from a pre-tier engine to tier 3, is that something you can quantify for us?
Well, I can't personally quantify it, but part of our grant process was we had to take the manufacturer's emissions, what they actually had published and was public record to the EPA's on the EMDs plus the CATs, and that's how we determined that there was a reduction in emissions and the footprint far exceeded the new engines' footprint far exceeded the older engines. Now, it's been quantified, but can I quantify it right now? Not.
Sure. So I know you mentioned, Mike, that the fuel burn. So average fuel burn in a day for the Monahan, what are you seeing?
It really fluctuates on the tow, but on average, when we were northbound out of New Orleans, which is probably some of the hardest run that it'll ever see, unless we really have high water on the Ohio. I think our highest fuel burn when we were pushing 12 barges northbound was around 3,300 for a 24-hour period. I think once we got past that, we averaged some of the bad spots. We averaged around 26 to 2,800, while making good miles too. So that's pretty significant when you're running lower, especially believe it or not, low water is probably as bad as high water sometimes, if not worse. But we've seen a significant difference on that end. They're just now getting on the Ohio and starting to run, so we really have to model that. But I want to say there's at least an 8 to 10% difference. We just got to quantify that and look back on our historical fuel burns on the boats and try to do some comparisons. But I think we see it. We just have to quantify it.
Okay, great. So for all listening, you can enter in any questions you have in the Q&A box on the right. Just type them into that field. We're getting them and seeing them, so we will get them and answer what we can. Mike, so 3,200 horsepower is the new measurement, I guess, for horsepower for the boats. But you mentioned something to me that I thought was interesting. When it was pushing at the yard, what were you seeing?
We've seen excess of that. I think we were, Tim, I think if I'm correct, it was 3,380, 3,390. We were just under 3,400 horsepower on a push, on a shove test on the pad. The boats came in, I believe, if I'm correct on this, it was either 2840 or 2880, on the shove test when they came in prior to, being overhauled or repowered. So, I mean, they were just under 3,000 prior to. So to get that kind of a performance, now you got to realize everything went back in new. I mean, we went back with new nozzles. Wheels were completely reworked. Everything fit good and tight. So I mean, you're. I'm not saying you're comparing apples to apples, because you're not. But everything was, you know, super tight and new. So I mean, it performed a lot better than it did, you know, obviously coming in. But there was a lot of wear too. You got to realize that boat's got 25 plus years of making money under its belt. So hopefully we've added another 25 years of life to it, and it can be more successful these next 25 years than it was the first 25.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Mike. Tim, we got a question. What is engine type, and what's the RPM?
They're at the engine RPM are at 1,600.
Okay, and it's the Cat
3512C.
3512C.
Yep.
Okay. Thanks. Then another question: does the vessel experience any RPM drop while maneuvering?
When we were doing it without a load, we didn't experience anything. Now I'd have to revert back to Mike, because he's actually steered it with a load, so he could most probably answer that, and that's a good question.
Okay.
Yeah. Not unlike any, you know, most any other boats out there, whether, you know, what their engine package or when you're in a hard shove and say you're cutting across a chute, or you're trying to make a jump from one side of the river to the other. When you put that rudder into it, a lot of times you will pull your engines down a little bit. It's nothing significant. You know, you may see a 15, 20, 30 RPM drop on a hard steer. But yes, you do see some fluctuation from time to time. It just depends on the situation.
Okay. Great. So one question, and it was, are there similar funding? Is there similar funding from the DOT that was in this case allotted by the Port of Pittsburgh, available in other regions? I don't know the answer to that. However, I do know the Port of Pittsburgh has used this money since 2013 for 40 total of 40 vessels, and nearly every operator in the area has been able to benefit. We only have a couple minutes left. Tim and Mike, what have we missed? What can you add? And what can we add about the project?
Wow, that's we've talked about that before.
Well,
from you go, you know, from hindsight 2020, I think we've learned a lot off of these boats. I mean, I know I have. Some of the, you know, Tim and I both over the years have done some big projects, but this has probably been a very enjoyable one for me, and it's had its challenges. But no matter how good you think you have your project laid out, you're always going to find those. We're going to call them those hidden interferences that's going to come up. I've learned that, but you know, honestly, guys, we did a project, a 5-boat project, ended up turning out to be a 4-boat project, and we did this pretty much off of pictures, drawings, and, you know, experience, if you want to call it that. And we were pretty much within 5 to 6% of our budget when we finished it. So that doesn't go, you know, no one person did that. Like I said, you got, you know, people like Tim Callahan helping us down there, and trust me, he was just as big a help to the shipyard as he was to us. I always told Jacob that he was going to get next month's rounds of invoices from Tim, but he never took me up on that. So I'm gonna have to talk to him about it. But no, Tim was a great help, especially during the COVID deal. You know, great asset to us. Donald Davey, we wouldn't have been able to do it without. He's absolutely, he's a heartbeat of probably a couple departments, but definitely of our maintenance department. But all of our guys too that traveled down had their input in. Our port engineers got involved. Wes Stevens, Rich Tate, Mike Shepard. We put the whole team in it, and we got different views, and everybody was able to point out something that somebody might have not have missed or didn't think was that important. And so I think it's fair to say pretty much everybody in the whole team has a little bit of sweat equity into these jobs too. So it's not just a one person's, project. It's kind of a team effort, and I think everybody's going to have the opportunity to enjoy it over the next several years. I mean, I think they came out so far. They've been very successful projects. So we hadn't had them out a month yet, but they're performing well.
Great. Well, that's a great way to wrap it up. We do have a couple of questions here, Mike and Tim, that I'll try to get to you offline. I can get you their contact information too. And Jacob, one's from Mr. Brown here. I'll get that to you. Jacob Brown's a 40 under 40 winner. You might be able to see him tomorrow at 3 p.m. So we have a video here coming up for Maritime Throwdown, a recent qualifier that they hosted. It hasn't been shown anywhere else. It'll be exclusive and shown here first momentarily. So view for that, wait for that, and hope everyone gets a chance to check out the exhibit floor and browse around. Tomorrow and Thursday it'll be live. Tim, thanks a lot. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And Mike, really appreciate your time. Thanks for doing this. We were really impressed by the project, so we wanted to have an opportunity to highlight it.
Yep. Thanks, guys. And I know we got a lot of feedback on our end from the article that was written by you guys. So it seems to have been real positive in the industry. So thank you again.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you all. Thanks for listening, guys.